Okay. Okay. As a preliminary matter, this is Ken Bogran, the chair of the Community Preservation Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Neville Richin.
Here.
Jack Gardner.
We lost them. I'm going to call them.
All right. Mark Beal.
Here.
Linda Williams.
Here.
Tim Savarino.
Here.
Diane Coombs.
Here.
I know John Trudell is not planning on being at the meeting, and Dawn Hill Holgate will be joining us shortly. Staff, when I call your name, please indicate your presence. Glenna Stokes Scarlett.
Here.
That's the only staff that I am aware of. And I do not have any awareness of any anticipated speakers at the meeting today. Good morning. This open meeting of the Community Preservation Committee is being conducted remotely.
Can you hear us? Jack is on. Jack is on now.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay, good.
Okay. This open meeting of the Community Preservation Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Community Preservation Committee is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted, and the public is encouraged to follow along using the public posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Now, we are now turning to the first item on the agenda, but before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or your computer when you're not speaking. Remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourselves.
Jack's having trouble. I'm going to put him on my cell phone. Jack, I'm going to put you on my cell phone so you can hear and you can talk. Okay.
Okay. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting was conducted by a roll call vote. With respect to the process that we have engaged in the past, what we will do is first of all, we will go through and take a look at each of the applications and make a determination whether or not they are qualified for consideration. Then, as we have done in the past, we will go through each of the applications and make a separate motion with respect to an amount to be recommended for inclusion in our warrant. And that at the end of having gone through that, we will then determine the amounts that we have proposed to be allocated. And then, as will perhaps most likely be the event, we will then have to go back again and take a look at reallocating the amounts proposed so that we fit within the scope of the dollars available. I had Glenna send out to you the list with respect to the monies available. The monies available, just to remember or remind you, we have $2,478,000 coming from the Community Preservation Surcharge. It is proposed that we allocate $600,000 in matching funds, which will be about the same amount that we received this year from the previous year's allocation. That's double the amount that we allocated last year. From interest, about $20,000, which is about the same amount that we have each year. Then we have also available for us to be able to use, in addition to that money, $2,132 in the account for historic preservation. We don't have to use that. It can be left there for future use, but just to be aware that it's there. And then from open space, we have designated reserves of $152,900, which could be used in terms of the category of the open space, in addition to the 10%, which we are mandated to use. Additionally, there are undesignated reserves. The undesignated reserves are about 1.6 million. We normally, as a policy, have kept $1 million in the undesignated reserves account for potential future use and never use it. So in addition to the numbers above, we have the possibility of taking some, all, or none of the $600,000 and allocate to the projects for this particular year. And then, as I indicated in the memo, we have two items that are currently mandated. We have a $350,000 to Affordable Housing Trust Fund for the existing bond. And we are proposing to have $150,000 allocated for administrative expenses. That is greater than the amount provided last year, but is within the minimum of 5% or maximum of 5% of the funds allowed. And again, we do need to allocate 10% to each category. That shouldn't be a problem this year, but just for you new members, if there were not 10% fund projects available, the amount up to 10% would then be put into future designated reserves for future use. So that's by way of background. So I would open it up and ask whether or not, in terms of your having reviewed the various applications, whether or not there is a motion to remove any items from our consideration for funding in view, because of the fact that they do not meet the proper criteria for us to be able to award funds for them.
Ken, is
Jack,
it-
I have a question for you, if I may,
Sure, Mark.
not as being the new boy in town. What's the range then of available grant money we have? You went through a lot of different numbers there, but what's the range that we have to grant for this year?
Right now, if we want to include the open space numbers, because of the large amount of the request from open space, we have just about $3,250,000 available, unless we choose to allocate some additional undesignated reserves. So with respect
Gotcha.
to, okay.
Yeah, I got you. Thanks.
Ken, do you think it'd be better if we just start at the top and just go down who's in, who's out before we start allocating funds?
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to do, was to go through who qualifies, who's in, who's out. So,
Okay. And
Mr.
without
Chairman?
getting into the amount of money, we just go down.
No,
to
that's right, yeah.
Who's out.
yeah, Tim?
Yes, I agree. Sorry, Linda, I didn't mean to step on you there. I do just have, I guess it would be a historical question, and it has to do right off the bat. So I guess it fits well with your vision on how you want to run the meeting. Item number one, the building envelope preservation. I went back and read the minutes when the Housing Trust Fund came to us originally, because as you may remember, those of you that were on the committee, and this is good for the new folks too, we used to fund Housing Nantucket for repairs. We funded the Housing Authority once before, maybe twice, I'm not sure, but we used to distribute the money in the affordable housing arena. And when the trust came before the CPC for the bond authorization, according to what I've read from our minutes in the past, they were to take over the entire enchilada, if you will, the repair, just the whole, the Habitat for Humanity, all of it went under their umbrella, and our obligation was to fund back then and ongoing as now the debt. And so I say that as background because I'm trying to figure out why the building envelope preservation came back to us. It almost seems like what we thought was going to happen now we're being hit twice, both to support the trust, and at the same time, it seems like some of our old customers are coming back directly for grant applications. So do I have that wrong?
No,
Yeah.
Tim, the issue with respect to the building envelope preservation is a historic preservation as opposed to a housing funding. You may remember, in order to be able to do this, because of the fact that the original Myakomet Village houses were not funded by the Community Preservation Committee, we couldn't be able to provide money to be able to repair and what have you. And so in working with the coalition up in Boston, they got legal counsel advice that if we use these specific languages which is with respect to, I forget what those words are, but they're in the
I
application.
remember. Yep.
Yeah. And so that's why this is an application under historic preservation as opposed to housing. So, because what we're doing is we're preserving a historical building with respect to this particular grant. So
In addition, Mr. Chairman, being the Housing Authority representative, the Housing Trust is not creating any new housing. This is existing housing. Makes it much more difficult to go through them because some of that money that was allocated at town meeting, the millions of dollars that they got pushed through, can't be used for this purpose. So they'd be using whatever money we gave them a long time ago, the trust. So the Housing Authority hasn't really an old customer. They've only been in here a couple of times because of what Ken said was the ruling from the state.
thank you, Glenna. I'm sorry.
So that language is to preserve from harm, injury, or destruction.
Okay. All right. Back to you, Tim. Sorry.
That's okay. So I remember that, and I remembered we figured a way out to help the Housing Authority, and I'm totally supportive of that. I just don't want the committee to forget that we were led to believe that this all housing related, and I know, Ken, I know your words very well. This isn't housing. This is quote unquote
Historic preservation.
historic preservation. I understand that, but Housing Nantucket also used to do a lot of repair work. And
but that has to come in under the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
And it's only on the units we created.
Because those are the units that we've created with respect to funding to Housing Nantucket. So though anything with respect to that can't come separately, has to come to us under the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Okay, so Ken, if I follow you, what you're saying is the fact that we didn't create the Housing Authority units is the reason they can't be funded through the trust.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to start with number one?
Thanks for your indulgence, everybody.
Oh, no, please, just one point to all the new members. The kind of issues that Tim raises and the discussion that we have is what is totally encouraged. The fact is that everybody needs to understand clearly what we're doing, why we're doing it. And if there are any questions, we try to answer them. We may not necessarily always agree on what we end up doing, but we do it after having full discussion so everybody understands what the issues and what the concerns are. And so, Tim, I really thank you for raising that. And Mark.
Yes, thank you, Ken. Well, tell me then, is there an age or how old must the building be to qualify as a historic preservation recipient of our funds?
Well, it has to have been. Where does historic preservation now is? We're in 2021, so anything that's 50 years old or older clearly does.
Thank you.
All right, shall we go down to see whether or not building envelope preservation is a yay or a nay?
I'll make a motion that it stays in.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor by roll call, Neville,
He's on mute.
you mute, yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, Jack? Yes. Mark?
Neville
Aye.
is yes. Well,
Okay. Linda,
Yes.
Linda, Tim,
Yes,
Diane,
aye.
Dawn, has Dawn checked in?
Yes,
All right, and the chair votes yes. Okay, so that stays in for consideration. Item 2 is the Sconset Trust Phase 2 Preservation of Sankaty Headlight. Is there a motion to keep that in?
I'll make a motion to keep it in.
Is there a second?
Second,
Diane,
aye.
Tim,
aye,
Linda,
Aye,
Mark,
Aye.
Jack, Dawn, Neville,
yeah,
chair votes aye.
Aye.
That stays in. Third, NISDA, Historic Preservation of the Seaview Farm.
I'll make a motion to keep it in.
Is there a second?
Second,
By Diane. Neville,
yes,
Dawn,
Aye.
Jack, Mark,
Aye.
William, Linda,
Whatever. Aye,
Tim,
aye,
Diane,
aye.
the chair votes aye. The next item is the Nantucket Historical Commission.
You can't hear again.
Nantucket Historical Commission Main Street Restoration, Rehabilitation and Accessibility Plan. Is there a motion to keep that in?
I'll make a motion to not keep it in.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, motion
On-
is to,
on the motion? On the motion, Mr. Chairman?
On the motion, absolutely.
Just a quick question. Did we hear back from, did they notify the town to see if they would fund this?
Yeah.
There's a whole series of emails which you should have gotten last
Ye-
week.
Yep, can somebody condense it down? I didn't follow the thread.
Not a priority.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of not funding this, Neville,
yes,
Dawn,
not fun.
Aye.
Jack, Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye,
Tim,
Aye,
Diane,
Aye.
and the chair votes, chair abstains. The next item is the First Congregational Church in Nantucket, Bennett Hall.
I'll make a
Um,
motion to keep it in.
Is there a second?
Aye.
Neville? Oh, any discussion?
No.
I'm sorry, Neville,
Yep,
Dawn,
Aye.
Jack, Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye,
Tim,
aye,
Diane,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Congregational Church, again for the Old North Vestry.
I'll
Is
make
there a
that
motion? Linda? Second by
Jack seconded.
Jack, seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, Neville,
aye,
Dawn,
Aye.
Jack, Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye,
Kim,
aye,
Diane,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Next item is the Nantucket Community Service Landmark House. Is there a
I'll make that
motion?
motion and to keep it in.
Is there a second?
Aye.
second,
Second by Mark. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor, Neville,
aye,
Dawn,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. The Affordable Housing Nantucket Interfaith Council.
I'll make that motion to keep it in.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, Neville,
aye,
Dawn,
Aye.
Jack, Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane, and
Aye.
chair votes aye. The Clay Street Development.
I'll make a motion to keep it off.
Is there a second on the motion to keep it
Jack
off?
seconded. Jack seconded.
Jack second. Okay, any further, any discussion on this? Hearing none. All those in favor of keeping this off and not eligible for an award? Neville,
aye,
Dawn,
Aye.
Jack, Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. The next item is the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust Fund for funding for affordable housing.
I'll
Is
make
there
a
a
motion to
motion?
keep it in.
Is there a second?
Second.
Diane seconded.
Okay, Diane seconded. All those in favor, Neville,
aye,
Dawn, Jack, Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim,
Nay.
Diane, and the chair votes
Aye.
aye.
Tim voted against it, so it was however many members to one.
Who voted against it?
Tim.
Tim, sorry,
And
okay.
we didn't get a response from Dawn.
Aye.
Aye, yep. Okay, and the open space recreational Nantucket Racket Sports expansion.
I'll make a motion to keep it in.
Is there a second?
Jack seconded.
All those in favor? Neville,
no,
Dawn,
Aye.
Jack, Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
chair votes aye. That is 7-1. And then the last item is Sustainable Nantucket Community Farm Institute. Is there a positive or negative
I'll
motion?
make that motion. Keep it in.
Second.
Second for Diane. All those in favor, Neville,
yes,
Dawn,
Aye.
Jack,
He's aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Okay, so we have 10 items to propose a fund allocation. And what we'll do is go through the same process that we have in the past, if that's okay with everyone. And what we will do is I will entertain a motion to recommend a funding amount, and we will vote on that. And then we will proceed down, and we will then total the amount of monies that have been proposed to be allocated, check the sources of the fundings, the amount of monies we have available, and then see what sort of work we have to do in order to come forward with a recommendation that fits within the amount of monies we have available. So if everybody is comfortable with that approach, I would suggest that we start with the first item, which is the building envelope preservation.
I'll make a motion to fund it in full.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
I believe it was Diane or Dawn.
I did.
Diane.
All right,
seconded.
Diane. Okay, any discussion with respect to that motion?
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest another approach to this?
Sure.
And I don't want to deviate from a process that has worked so well. But, in preparation for the meeting today, I did a little back of the envelope math, and notwithstanding the trust, I think we can fund everything. I don't know if others have totaled up all of the request amount, but so I don't want to derail the process, but I think we all want to fund everything here. That I think the 900-pound gorilla in the applications is, do we want to take on an additional 350,000 in bond obligation to bring the total up to 700 to fund an additional 5 million? That's really the discussion point. I think if we don't, if we do want to do that, it brings us over the amount of money we have, but not by a whole lot.
I agree, Tim, through you, Mr. Chairman. I agree, Tim. I did the same math. But I think we need to go through everything first to see if 50 could be cut from here, 50 cut from there, or how much we want to take out of our reserves. Because I think you're correct. We probably can fund everything, but I think we're going to have to take out of our undesignated reserves in order to do that. I don't
Yep.
have a problem with that because it still leaves us with just short of $1 million. So that's where I am at the moment, but I think we should keep going with the process and then figure out where to go with it.
Okay. Okay.
Mark, you have your hand up.
I just have a question. I just put in 700,000 for the Affordable Trust, and I get a total of $5 million of grant money. Is that what you had in mind, Tim? Or is my math wrong?
Are you taking out the two projects that we're not funding, Mark? The
Oh, I didn't. I did not. Thank you. I did not.
Yep.
So one is Clay Street.
Yep. And the other is the
Number
Historical Commission, the 85,720.
Yeah, so it's
All right.
almost $1 million we take off the top.
So that's 4,303,000.
Well, keep in mind that the housing trust is, we're calculating all the other figures into it. The housing trust is not the 5 million, it's 350.
350. Wait,
Yeah, I put that down.
we have committed, we have committed, we have an existing obligation for 350,000. If we do the housing trust, there would be a new commitment of 350,000, and there would be 150,000 of administrative expenses. So that's 850,000 that would be committed if you do the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
So that's 4.1 million.
My objection, Mr. Chairman, isn't so much, I'm very supportive of affordable housing. What I don't like is having our bond requirement reach 700,000, which using your numbers earlier in the meeting, I think you said that our CPC collections is around 2.4. So
Right.
if 700 is obligated right off the top, I mean, that's a substantial, well, it's just taking power away from the CPC making the determination of where best to use our money. I understand the principle of leveraging to get the 5 million. I just don't know if I am all in on doubling the bond amount.
Mr. Chairman,
Just first, Neville, go ahead, and then Mark.
okay, Mr. Chairman, we're talking about housing right now, but we're still in historic preservation. And just for everyone's sake, I think this first round of the amount does not mean that we are going to fund this for this 342,000. It was just a suggestion now to keep it in for that amount. Once we've gone through it, we're going to go through another round. But I would hate to get sidetracked on this item, since we're talking about historic preservation
No.
and not housing now, just to keep it within historic preservation for right now. And because I see the conversation on housing has nothing to do with this.
That's why I wanted to stay in order, just go down the list, and then we figure out where to go from
Yeah.
there. I just don't want to get bogged down on something we're not anywhere near yet.
Right, Mark?
I think we ought to do them in order. I think we're on the right track with that.
Thank you.
So the next one is Sconset Trust. I will make a motion to fund it in full. I'll make a motion to fund Sconset Trust in full.
Is there a second?
Second.
That is seconded by Diane.
Jack got there first.
Jack, okay. Is there discussion with respect to that? Hearing none, all those in favor of funding in full for the purposes of this discussion? Neville,
I'll say yes for now.
Dawn,
Aye.
Jack,
He said aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim.
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
and the chair says aye. The third item is the NISDA.
I'd like to come back to that, Mr. Chairman. That's a big ticket item, and I think there's going to be some parsing here, perhaps. That's
Well-
just my personal opinion.
Well, the process that we're going through and we agreed to is we would follow the motion that could be made at this particular point in time. Is there someone that wants to make a motion for a total or a partial allocation with respect to this particular project?
I make a motion to be funded in full.
Is there a second?
Second.
Diane, all those in favor?
And
Neville?
dis-
Oh, sorry,
discussion,
discussion. Sorry. Yep. Mark, go ahead.
I'm a little troubled by this application. It's their third or fourth one in recent history. I was troubled at the hearing originally on their governance situation. It's a very clubby board of directors in that it's the director, her husband, and a child, and then a treasurer. That's the board of directors. And I find that troubling that they're allowed to have a 501c3 with that kind of a board, but they apparently do. I just think this is an awfully big, large lump to give an organization when we have many other priorities that are more visible, used more by the community. I would be supporting of a partial designation of funds for this organization, but not the full amount.
I
Thank you,
agree,
Mr.
which is why I wanted to come back. I agree with Mark. I'm more interested in the silos since we paid for the silos completely. I think that's why I said come back to it, because I don't think maybe we won't get enough votes to fund it fully. But right now, I have a hard time with the whole amount.
Okay, the motion is to fund fully. You can vote to fund fully, or you can vote against the motion to fund fully. And we could then have a second motion with respect to a partial funding. Mark?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Linda, to fund the silos alone. So I'm going to vote no on this motion when it comes around to my turn. I think that's the way to go in this application.
Is there any further discussion with respect to this particular application?
Does anybody have the book open in front of them to say what the silo amount was? I've forgotten. I think it was in the couple of hundred, but does anybody have that in front of them?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Neville,
can I say something, please?
I have recognized you.
Okay, right, going down the list, I'm not sure if I may not want to fund in agreement to fund $342,000 for the envelope for my common road, or the 250 or 251,000. We haven't gotten there yet. So I think just to keep a smooth thing going, this just says all this says is we're going to keep it open for a second round, and then everybody I think will possibly get a chance to go back and take a second look at the project and come back with an amount that they may suggest that we do. I'm just saying I support the $734,000 right now. And I think if we did that, when we come back, all the other stuff that you guys are talking about can come out.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that part of this discussion is in fact to have members, in fact, give an expression or an indication with respect to how they feel about this particular project. That's why we have the motions. And so as Mark and Linda have indicated, if people are not necessarily comfortable with the total amount, but want to have something they can do it at this point in time, they don't have to wait until we've gone through everything in the first round.
Right, and then overextend.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I agree with you totally. If that were the case, if someone says, okay, I want to fund it for 300,000, but no one is saying that. They're
Well,
just
right now,
discussing whether to
We
fund
are,
it or
two
not.
of us are.
oh, wait a second, right, just before everybody. There is a motion on the floor. We're having discussion with respect to the motion. A number of members have indicated some concerns with respect to the motion. If there's not any further discussion, I will entertain a vote on the motion. And the motion is to fund fully. So you either vote in favor of funding fully, or if you're not comfortable with that or think it should be something else, then you should vote against the motion to fund fully.
Plus, I
I'll
have to
make a
remind you
motion
guys that they have to remind you guys that we have yet, after all this time, 3 or 4 years, to receive our preservation restrictions.
It
I
has been
understand
done.
COVID impacted it, but they keep delaying it
has-
over and over
Linda, it has been done and approved.
after 4 years.
It's not their fault. It was the Board of Selectmen's fault.
And let's just move forward on the particular motion with
I
respect.
make that motion. that
No,
we
there is a motion there is currently a motion on the floor to fund fully.
Okay.
And so I am going
That's
to
my
ask for a vote right now are you in favor of voting funding fully at this particular point in terms of the motion or not? So if you're in favor of funding fully, you vote yes. If you're not in favor of funding fully, but in favor of funding something else, you vote no. And then another motion. If the motion does not carry, there can be another motion with respect to what to consider for funding. So as to the motion to fund fully,
On the
Neville,
motion, Mr. Chair?
yes, Tim,
And again, this is why I was talking about looking at everything as in total. But I think Neville's point is, and I want to support all the members here. I think all we're doing here is we're going through and saying what's all in. We're going to come back and look at every number a second time if I follow Neville correctly. And if I follow you correctly, Mr. Chairman, you're saying we are able as members to reduce a number in the first round if we so choose. Is that correct?
that is absolutely correct.
Okay. All right.
And
Thank you, Mr.
the other thing too is at the end of the day, as we get through, if in fact, when we're ready to make a final determination, we're also able to increase an amount that we have voted on if we see that there's extra funds that we choose to want to reallocate.
We did that last year with the rental assistance.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's why, Mr. Chairman, I looked at it from funding everything, only to put that number against the available funds, and we could see how far off we are. Then we could back into it. But the traditional way we're doing it does the same thing. I don't care
Yes.
how we get there. So on the motion, Mr. Chair, sorry to belabor it.
absolutely not. On the motion, those in favor of the full funding, Neville,
Yes,
Dawn,
No.
Jack,
No, Jack, no,
Mark,
No,
Linda,
no,
Tim,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes,
chair votes no. It does not carry.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mark,
I make a motion to approve $97,750 for the silo project at NISDA.
What is it, Mark? What is that, Mark?
97,750.
750. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there discussion with respect to that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Savarino.
Yes, Tim.
Mark, does that, you're open to the information, I'm not. Does that get to the point where they stabilize the foundation? Because that was very troubling. We paid for that to be totally redone and now it's cracking. Is that what the 97 takes care of?
I'm headed to that page.
I'm looking at the page now, Tim.
I believe it's 99, Mark. Is that what the page is? 100.
70, page 75.
All right, because I'm up into the other finances.
I don't
There we
see a foundation support. Structural remediation is 32,000, Tim. Construct 2 silo platforms, 13,000.
Yeah, I was concerned about that we paid to have that all redone and now it's deteriorating already.
No, the
Well,
other
it's because of
silo.
the soil, that's the soil underneath it that has started to cave, and because of the rise in the water level, that has
Yeah.
not happened.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And the repairs to the second silo, which has exterior and interior cracks, which I have seen.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Neville.
I believe when they were asked about the famous CPC question, what are the priorities you'd have? One was the silo, and the other was the French water drainage system that they wanted to install because of the rise in the sea level. So they, when they were asked the question, if they can't get the whole thing, what would they take, or how would they categorize it? I think those two things were mentioned.
Yep.
It was easy to do. So so
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Mark, can we does your number cover those two things?
No, I'm looking
I
at
don't
it.
think it does, actually, no. It doesn't refer to any foundation work.
Okay, I've got the silos, you're right, 97,750. On the next page, it's the protect historic long shed building structure from rising water table level also there. And they've got a lot of stuff involved with the drainage on the next page, which is 50,955. I'd be willing to add that for the long shed because we paid for the
That was it.
project twice.
That
So
was it. Yeah.
I'd be willing to make a friendly amendment and add the long shed, which is on page 76, because we paid for that already. This is something we've already done twice. So that's 5955 added to the 97,750. Is that an amendment you'd be willing for me to make?
Yes,
Who seconded that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion with respect to that?
And
Okay,
so what's the new number?
5, just a minute. I'll add 5, 10, 9, 10, 16, 17, 8,
705.
5, 14, 148,705.
Yep, to cover that. Right, exactly.
148 what?
148,705.
That sounds good.
All right, is that the motion that we want to vote on?
Yes,
Okay, all those in favor, Neville,
Yes, let me get back to where I was. Hold on. 148,705.
705, yeah,
148. Let me just write it down, please.
okay. Neville, yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Jack,
He said yes.
Mark,
yes. Aye.
Linda,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes,
chair votes yes. Next item,
And for the new members, Mr. Chairman, for the new members, this doesn't preclude them from coming back next year for that phase of the heifer barn and et cetera, et cetera. They can come back year after year. That's, you'll notice that we fund certain things like the churches and other projects year after year after year after year. So they split it up.
correct. The next is the motion for Bennett Hall First Congregational Church. The request was 84,571. Is there a motion?
Make a motion for the whole amount.
Same, second.
Second, is there any further discussion with respect to that? Hearing none. All those in favor, Neville,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Jack,
It was yes.
Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim.
Aye.
Diane,
aye.
chair votes yes. The motion for First Congregational Church with respect to the Old North Vestry.
I'll make a motion to fund in full.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, Neville,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Jack, Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
chair votes aye. The next item,
I'll make a motion to fund the landmark house in full.
259,500 is the amount. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Neville. Any further, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, Neville,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Jack,
He said yes.
Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
the chair votes yes, unanimous. The Nantucket Interfaith Council, the Nantucket Rental Assistance Program request for $275,000.
I'll make a motion, Mr.
Make-
Chairman.
Mark,
Second.
I'll second, whoever. Neville seconded.
okay.
We're all
Any-
jumping on
any-
this.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor, Neville,
Yes.
Dawn,
Don,
Sorry, aye.
Jack,
He said
Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. And next is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The request was for an amount of $350,000 to fund a new $5 million bond. Is there a motion to that
I would make
effect?
a motion to do that because we cut off about 500 or 600,000 off of NISDA at the moment. So I'll make a motion to fund the 350 bond.
Is there a second to that motion? Did I hear a second? I couldn't hear.
No.
Mr. Chairman, you can second it. You
Yeah.
can't make, the-
I will second the motion for discussion. Hearing no, Mark,
I share Tim's concern about locking up our future funding sources for 15 years. I think it's, as much as I support affordable housing, and I really do, I think this is a very important project for Nantucket. We're approaching safe harbor, but not quite there yet. But I just think this is, I hate locking up our funds for 15 years.
Mr. Chairman,
Linda,
after lengthy discussions over the last bond that I had with Brian and what he said at this one, it would appear that when we tie this up for a couple of years, we're going to be able to borrow less and pay for less years. It's not a given that it's 15 years. If we stockpile like we did for the other one, it buys it down very quickly and we finish it off very quickly. That we don't have to borrow 5 million, we borrow less because we've stockpiled some money over the next 3 or 4 years. And then we don't have to service that much because the payment could be less and the time could be less depending on where we are in 3 or 4 years. So what this is doing is only encumbering it for a little while and getting a fairly big bang for our buck. So I was very hesitant about this, as Ken knows, until Brian answered the questions that I had about it. So it's not as doom and gloom as it is like you think it is up front, because we're going to be borrowing less as we get closer to actually borrowing. Is that correct, Ken?
that is absolutely correct. I think the most important thing is that what we need as a committee need to consider that this is the number one priority of the select board in terms of housing, is one of their number one of their strategic goals. And with respect to the review of how we get to creating affordable housing, that allows us to be able to create a community where people are in fact going to be able to live and live here as well as work here, this is a really, really important step. And that's part of, there's a significant amount of research and work that's gone into looking at this and determining that this is the right time to do it because of the low cost of the
Borrowing.
interest rate at this point in time, borrowing. And secondly, because as Linda indicated, that the way that this money is taken down, it doesn't mean that it's a 15-year, at least with respect to the original one that we did for the first 5 million, right? Based on what Brian said, it looks like we would only be doing that for 12 years, and it would be likely a similar time frame with respect to this. I understand that it commits us to that, but when we're taking a look at the amount of money that we have available, we do have, in fact, the CPC surcharge, and we do every year get an allocation from the state, which based on what's been happening with respect to all things is in the $500,000 to $600,000 range. So that suggests that we have close to $3 million. $700,000 of $3 million is still a significant amount. But the fact is that part of our mandate as a committee is to address the community needs, and the community through the select board is telling us that affordable housing is perhaps the most critical need for this particular community at this point in time in order to, in fact, develop, make, and save a community.
I also, for those of you who weren't around years ago, before we started giving a lot of money to the Housing Trust, I did some, because I was the chairman of the Housing Trust as well. I did a research project of every single town in the state that has CPCs, that voted in the CPCs, and had some sort of a housing trust or a housing entity in their towns. And a super majority of the money in every one of these things went to housing, because we're not the only place that has a problem. We're the place that you can't drive here from the next town. But every one of them, a large percentage of it, they worked in concert with their CPCs, and a large percentage of it, like P-Town and whatnot, all going to the whatever housing entity they happen to have in their town. So we're not percentage-wise out of whack with everybody else. It's just that we also have a substantial amount of historic preservation here, which most of those towns don't, to be honest with you. Recreation and open space isn't really a priority in any of these towns either, except when you get further out west in the Berkshires. So we are within limits. It is an appropriate thing to do, given the priority list and the desperation that people had this summer for looking for any kind of housing, whether it's staff housing or affordable housing. It was insane this year. Everything that could be sold was sold right out from underneath people. So I think given what happened this summer, it's incumbent upon us to work with the Housing Trust, either to create affordable staff housing seasonally, or to get 6 fairgrounds off the road, or increase Habitat's stockpile. And the Housing Authority is working with the town to trade off Tom Nevers in order to get the lots that are on Tacoma. 8 lots, I think, are over there. And those would be RFP'd out to whoever wants to do affordable housing. So there's a lot of groups working together to increase the affordable housing stock, whether we meet that threshold from the state at 10% or not. And we should hear shortly, or I think we've got I think we were in safe harbor for another year or two, 10.
We are for a year, and as soon as the Richmond stuff comes on, we will be in safe harbor for an additional year. So,
and there's a lot of units going up right now out there.
Yeah.
So I would like to push back on the comments that have just made for the last 5 or 10 minutes. As one CPC commissioner, one of the great joys from my perspective is the work that the CPC has done for the small nonprofits around the island that don't have the ability to do anything on their own. We all know what they are. I won't go through a list, but if it wasn't for the CPC, a lot of the churches, the Legion Hall, a lot of those type of operations would be crumbling under the weight of trying to maintain their facilities. So I don't want to be seen as against affordable housing, but I do want to stick up for all of the small operations that come to us periodically for help. And when we start to approach, Linda, I appreciate the fact that we freed up the 350 this year from NISDA, and we could afford to pay the bond this year, but we have no idea what the future holds for us. I know we're a wealthy community. I know that we have tremendous property sales every year, but we don't know what the future holds. And I hate to be boxed into, well, I won't go there, but this is the second time around for the trust. I just think that we're limiting our ability as CPC commissioners to look annually at what the needs of the community are. So I still want to push back on the $700,000 annual commitment to pay those bonds over the next 15 years, plus or minus whatever it is.
Ken, can I speak?
Absolutely, Diane.
I agree with what Timmy's saying. I think that there are other things, not that I'm against the housing, low-cost housing or whatever, is that I work on it every week to have it fit in and go. But I think some of the smaller ones, this has to look at the island as an island that existed before low-cost housing became the major thing. And we have to exist. Otherwise, we might as well just turn the island over to New Jersey and say the hell with it. And I think you have to look at the small places that need to have our help. And I would like to see, for one, that might help the town, the administrators or whatever, go to the governor, which they have not done, and explain our thing of safe harbor and whatever else all the other denominations of it are, and at least try to get some reduction so that we come to our full number shorter than the time that's required now, and not so much of our money to work with other departments are tied up. So I would like to see this looked at, and as Timmy said, not tie us in for a great length of time. Because if it doesn't all work and it doesn't, the 5 million bond and whatever, if times are tough, which that's going to be tough for us too. Thank you.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Chairman?
I've done some addition
Mr.
here.
Chairman, I
Yeah,
haven't
just
spoken yet.
Neville.
Okay. I just want to ask a question. Then I agree with everything that's being said by Diane and Tim. I want to ask a question. Is there a smaller amount other than, I'm just out of curiosity, that can go in here other than the 5 million for the $350,000 bond? Like, is there a smaller amount that can go in this year?
Well,
can that figure fluctuate from year to year?
No, what you're doing is you have to make a commitment to the funding the principal and interest payments over a period of time in order to be able to support fund the size of the bond. And the $5 million fund, the $5 million bond requires a principal and interest payment of about $350,000 a year over a 12 to 15 year period in order to be able to fully fund the repayment of the money borrowed. So if you did a $4 million bond, it would probably, the number might be $300,000 a year, but it would still be over the 12 to 15 year period. And it has to be something that is committed to over the period of time in order to be able to provide a funding source for the bond that is going to be taken out and the money available for use by the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Here's what came up the first time. When
I
it came
understand.
up the first time.
Linda, please, Linda. Neville.
Excuse me. I understand what you're saying, dear Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate it. My thing was to ask if that figure can fluctuate from 5 to less. I understand that. The thing that I got from Brian when he was speaking to us was not a definite yes that the interest rate might be, will go down. It may, the word he used was may go down. And if it goes down, then we'll be able to pay it off a lot sooner. What you were just saying now, you went back to the 12 to 15 year period. So I'm saying, so I just please. So I agree with something that Tim said in terms of just tying us up for like over $700,000, every year, if we continue on this funding for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund of funding for this $5 million bond, $5 million amount.
I believe I was next,
paying
Mr.
off.
Chairman.
Yeah. I just want to correct one thing that Diane said. Diane, I think it is important for you to understand that the town administration has in fact been actively working with the state in terms of getting a transfer tax proposal put in, which has been approved by town meeting for 5 or 6 years in a row. There's been activity on the legislative front in terms of trying to find additional funding from the state to be able to have the sources. But until this year, there has been no willingness on the part of the people in the House and Senate, because of the support of real estate brokers, to be able to allow that kind of legislation to go forward. This is the first time that there is in fact the possibility that some form of transfer tax might be coming forward that might benefit Nantucket, but it wouldn't have any effect with respect to this type of funding that we're talking about. I just wanted to make it clear that the town administration, in fact, has been looking at all different ways to address the issue with respect to addressing the housing needs and the affordable housing component of it. While it may not be as fully understood, but that is the, in fact, correct. That's a fact that I just wanted to correct for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Here's the deal. I've added up everything so far without the extra 350. And it looks like we're at including the 350 we already committed to and the 150 for and change for administrative. We're somewhere in the vicinity of 3,200,000, which means another 350 isn't going to kill us. Number one. Number two, we asked that when the other bond came through, and most of you aren't on here perhaps that heard that, when it came through the first time, we asked what happens if CPC went away tomorrow, because you can vote it in, you can vote it out. That's why every town has done. The town would have to take on the obligation of funding the bond. So it wouldn't just go willy-nilly into the future. The real estate has gone up, obviously, this year. So chances are next fiscal year, there's more money coming in. Plus, there's a big push up at the state legislature to actually allocate more money to the towns. We get that bulletin all the time from CPC in Boston, that they're pushing to take more money and give it to the fund, because when Springfield came in, Boston came in, there was a move to put Boston and Springfield on their own, so they didn't suck up everything from all the small towns like us. So there's a lot of push for the state to rearrange the CPC funding, to increase it and reallocate it. So there are things that are going to be happening over the next 10 years that will probably benefit Nantucket, not hurt us, as far as how much money we have to allocate.
Are there other commissioners that we haven't heard from yet on this motion? I can't see everybody. Glenna, does anybody else have their hand up?
None that I can see, but we didn't know if Jack had any comments or questions.
Jack, do you have any comments or questions you wanna come forth with?
I agree with what Tim was saying.
He agrees with what Tim is saying.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a comment?
Yep.
I think the question from me, and I know how people get labeled, you're for this, you're not for this, blah, blah, blah. I am supportive of affordable housing, have been. My record on this committee shows that. The question from me is what's the maximum amount as a CPC that we're willing to commit for 15 years without any control? I mean, once we take the vote, it's locked in. That's the number that bothers me, rising from 350 to 700. As a committee, we need to, and I understand the arguments that you made, Mr. Chairman. I understand the arguments that Linda made. But I don't know if I want to be locked into every year. The 700 comes right off the top. The 150 for admin comes right off the top. We're approaching $1 million that we have no say in how it's spent annually. And that's what bothers me. I mean, maybe to Neville's point, if everything was logarithmic, maybe if we reduce the 5 million down to 2.5, then that would cut the additional 350 in half. That gets us down to a $500,000 annual contribution to pay the bond. Maybe I could swallow that, but that's not what we were being asked, so there you have my thoughts.
Through you, Mr. Chairman,
And
I don't have a sense of who's in favor, who's against. I don't know how this vote's going to break. Should we vote on that first and then decide if Tim's leaning towards reducing the amount is the other option? Because I believe there was a motion to fund it and seconded. Was there? No.
that is correct. There's a motion to fund and second at
So we can see
350.
where we are at the moment on that motion and then have that discussion that Tim wants to have on reducing the amount.
Okay, one more question. Is there anyone else that wishes to comment before we vote on the motion?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Neville?
I agree with Linda, just on that point, that, okay, let's be voting to keep it in for this, but when we come back again, that doesn't necessarily stay that way. And I'm saying that because of something that was said earlier and is being locked in as such, going back to the the 700 and something thousand dollars from NISDA. That can come back at 700,000. Just keeping all of that in mind. So when we go back to our second round, we aren't locked in with any reductions that we have made in the past. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I don't see any raised hands. Then on the vote, those in favor of the motion being to fund $350,000 for the $5 million bond, I will do as I have all along. Neville?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Jack?
No.
No. Mark?
No,
Linda?
Yes.
Tim?
No.
Diane?
No.
Chair votes yes, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, 3, yes.
No, I don't have 5 no.
Sorry, 4.
4 no and 4 yes.
4 no and 4 yes.
Let's go
Then
again.
the motion does not carry.
So,
and
Mr.
Whose hand is up? Mark?
I believe it's Mark.
Ken, I'd like to make a motion to bring forward $2.5 million funding for the Affordable Housing Trust.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. Discussion with respect to that.
Well, I do have a comment. The average cost of a house right now is 2.9 million here. They're involved with quite a few things right now that are sucking up that money that Toby got for them at town meeting. I know they haven't drawn out the full 5 million, but it's going.
Well, just correction, Linda, of the 5 million, there's only about $500,000 left that has not been committed to projects.
Yeah, and the other 10, what is it? What did Toby get for him? 10 or 20?
Yeah, there's less, there's just slightly over $1 million left of that
Yeah,
money as well.
So when you're talking about adding another 2.5 to what they have for this particular purpose, other than the programs that they're running, which are down payment assistance, creating covenant lot assistance, which is going with what they have in the other fund. That isn't going to get them very far at all to compete in the open market. That's the problem. And Ken is a realtor. John was a realtor. I have a real estate license. That to compete in the, nobody's giving the housing trust any money or any fund, any land. In order to compete in the open market or help to buy down units that are already existing, it takes a tremendous amount of capital. If they don't have the working capital, which is all the arguments we made when the housing trust came into being about giving them money over the years, and we didn't for some years because it was a misunderstanding as to what the purpose was. It's not going to get them very far with 2.5 million when you add it to the other 500 and the other million. It's gonna, they're going to be severely limited in what they can do. Because as you said earlier, Habitat is going to them now, and they're going to have a lot more units here shortly. Some of the other affordable 40Bs, you know, pocket 40Bs, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 unit ones are going to be going to them, and there are more plans for those. They will not be able to respond because they don't have the actual capital. So what we're doing is tying their hands. And it doesn't, and as Chen said, and I said again, it may not be 12 years, it may be 10 years, it may be 8 years, depending on when they go and use the funds and when we trigger the bond. And it could be less than 350. So this is, we're tying their hands by doing this. So that's all I have to say.
Mr. Chairman.
Neville.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Historically speaking, on the CPC, we had Habitat and the other housing, interest here on Nantucket. That was going along pretty fine. One thing that one of them came and said they'd like to come through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund because the Affordable Housing Trust Fund does the heavy lifting. But housing and building affordable housing and affordable rentals has been going along on Nantucket since the CPC started. We can't cut ourselves off. We did a good job with these things. When the Affordable Housing Trust Fund first came in, just historically speaking, the first time they came in, we don't know where that money went. We know a house went up and, you know, and it went in the wrong place. We know a house was given away. This is the second go around for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund on Nantucket. And I think this is the first time that it actually looks stable. It actually looks like we're actually beginning to see things that are going on. But because my comment, because I went to do some research and talking to, you know, to people there in the housing, affordable housing, I said, let me see something.
Hey, you froze for a
You
second.
froze.
You know,
Like-
so
There you go.
Yeah, you're
what
back.
I'm saying is, housing on Nantucket is a tough road to pull. Affordable Housing Trust Fund, fine, let's deal with it. I don't see anything with this wrong with this going down to 250. This is just for this year. Next year, if you want 5 million going back up to 5 million, it's fine. I do know that there are a lot of projects that Affordable Housing Trust Fund have right now. But what I do in my mind is I do not include Habitat and I do not include Nantucket housing things, even though they go to affordable housing now, because they were in existence before Affordable Housing Trust Fund came on as strongly as it is right now. You know, and I've known about Affordable Housing Trust Fund when they came out across the state.
Just, Mr. Chairman, just to correct what he said, when we did the first $5 million bond, it was the clear understanding at that time that Habitat and whatever other entities out there would not be coming back individually to the CPC, that they would expressly go to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund because they can react quicker, they have more liquid funds, and they can deal with it better. That's
Okay.
why we don't do the Housing Nantucket and Habitat anymore. They all go to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That was the clear understanding when the first $5 million bond was entered into. And that's what the clear understanding is with whatever amount we give them this time. They
That
are
is-
not coming back here individually anymore, period.
That's correct. Mark, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Ken. Um, I've been to many, many town meetings, and the CPC has been has a history of helping the little guy. And you look at this year's applications, and they're time and time again throughout our applications here, they're the people that would not be at town meeting asking for money. We have been responsive at town meeting to affordable housing, some very big numbers, and as we should at town meeting. But I don't think it's this committee's job to solve the housing problem. I really don't. I think our job is helping the little guys, the smaller churches, the big churches, the Lighthouse, Landmark. I mean, they're all modest requests, and I think we've already done 5 million for the Affordable Housing Trust once, and I'll go halfway with you all if need be to 2.5. But I really hate committing a large chunk of our money when we are historically helping the little guy do the major restoration renovations, building pickle courts, whatever. Thank you, Ken.
Mark. Any further other comments before we vote on Mark's motion to fund a bond in the amount of $2.5 million?
Yes, I'd like to make one, Mr. Chairman.
Tim,
I would just like to say to my friend Neville that coming back next year kind of goes against the principle that I'm standing for, Neville, and that is committing more than, and I agree with Mark's motion. Once we get to the plateau of $500,000 a year that's earmarked for bond payments for affordable housing, at least from my perspective as one commissioner, that's about the maximum that I can swallow, because you have to add the other obligations on top of that. And we're not always going to be in such flush times. I would say also to Mark's point that we shouldn't be the only source of funds for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. They should have, if they feel passionately they're running out of money, they're down to the numbers that we've heard from reports from Linda and Ken. Why don't they have an article in this year to ask the citizens to fund in addition to what we're funding? We can't be the only source. We have so many other people looking to us for help that I'm happy to support the compromise, but I don't want anyone coming back to commit us beyond that, because I think we're tapped out, to use the slang. Thank you.
just one point of correction, Tim. The town, in fact, has stepped up at the town meeting this year. They, in fact, put forward warrant articles for an additional $8.5 million in terms of a funding source that was approved at town meeting and also at the ballot. And they also added several $1 million in terms of their actual annual budget to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to provide funding source for some of the other projects under the Affordable Housing Trust Fund banner. So just as a correction, the town, you're absolutely right. In the past, the town didn't belly up to the bar, but in fact, based on what they did this year and what can perhaps be anticipated moving forward, the town is recognizing the issue with it and is looking at the various different sources of funding to be able to, in fact, generate from those that have the availability as much as is possible in order to be able to address their number one goal, which is affordable housing.
No, I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. Just a follow-up, Neville, if I could. Mr. Chairman, my point is, do they have an article in for this upcoming year, like we're being asked for this upcoming year?
Nobody has any articles in
Select
yet.
board has not, the issue with respect to articles coming from out of the capital projects and the town select board, those those warrant articles have not yet been addressed, as you can follow to see about them at the regular select board meetings. So the answer to that is that at this point in time, that the funding sources with respect to the town itself have not been addressed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, yes, Neville had a point, and then Linda.
You answered my point. I have another point to make, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was made before. This is a correction, I call it. I didn't want to be, I was misinterpreted because someone corrected me. I wasn't saying what they were saying. I know what happens with the first 5 million. I'm talking about before the first $350,000, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund that existed on Nantucket prior to that under another person's leadership. I had a talk with Stuart and just to find out what it looks like in terms of our sheer capability coming from the state. And it's a struggle. He said it's a struggle. It's not something that's definite. It's a struggle. So okay, so this year you might have a $600,000. Next year we may not get that much. And Ken, historically speaking, coming from when we were getting our 50% match up and 100% match up to where it is now, it's like nothing. It seems like nothing. We have a greater interest. Nantucket has always been involved in the CPC. That's why they love us on the CPA. We took on all 3 categories. Most of the other cities and towns in the Commonwealth took on historic, or they took on housing, just one item. And some of them, maybe a few of them have maybe come later on and voted in to take on another thing. Nantucket, we were the leaders. They came here to find out how we did it. So we've always been involved in housing, historic preservation, and open space. And we have stretched those things out to include more as our community grew and has become more diverse. Here we are now in terms of housing. We have a lot of housing advocates here on the island building housing. I have people building housing, just some housing that they're building, just regular people to talk to me who go up and clean the houses. Some of these houses are being built very poorly and nobody wants to live there, but they're going to rent it out for $700 or $2,000 and $3,000, which is not affordable to most of the people, workers here on Nantucket. But they'll rent it out because they can get it for summer rentals. People will come here for the summer or summer vacation. We have to look at the whole. Okay, go ahead.
Thank
you, Mr. Chairman.
Mark, and then I will only recognize any new comment before we vote on Mark's motion.
I just want to mention, Ken, that Dawn's had her hand up for a while.
Okay, sorry, Dawn.
Oh, I was just going to comment before about budgeting. I mean, I would anticipate that there will be a general fund budgetary item for the trust fund going into this year, but as you know, we haven't finalized what will be on the warrant at this stage. We do that in January.
Okay,
I have one more comment.
Last comment, and then we will go to vote on Mark's motion of a bond of $2.5 million. Am I correct in that amount, Mark? Okay, Linda.
A lot of these projects this year, other than the housing projects, are one shot or they're finishing up. Because we've been on the Congo Church for a long time. It took us a while on the Methodist Church for years. It took us years to get the Unitarian Church. The Congo Church, once these are done, should be done. So we know pretty much who our people are and who come repeatedly because the projects keep going. I only see 1 or 2 of these things on this list that are going to come back again. Obviously, NISDA. Housing is never going to get to be not a problem here. We can make it less, but it's never going to become not a problem. The list of people at the Housing Authority for both the federal and the state, and several are on both, is multiple pages because people are desperate. They have no housing. Satcham's Path was the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's all affordable, all capped. We are never not going to have a problem with housing. So the one thing that will come back year after year after year, and I'm not entertaining another bond for another 250 next year. That's ridiculous. Then we'll have 3 bonds at varying interest rates. That's why I'm in favor of the 5 million this year, because they will not be back next year,
Okay.
or even the year after that. So I don't see, I think we're being short-sighted with this. So I'm not in favor of the 2.5, but if that's all we can get for housing, that's all we can get. But I think we're being short-sighted. It was a 4-4 vote. I wish somebody would change and go with the other 4 that was in favor of the 5 million. I just don't know how to play this one out.
Okay,
If you don't win this time.
we are at the point where we're going to vote. If you vote yes, you are supporting the funding of an amount that I will need to obtain from Brian Turbot to fund a $2.5 million bond. We don't know what that amount will be, but it is obviously perhaps around half of what the cost is for a $5 million bond. We are voting in principle, subject to advice from Brian Turbot as to what the annual amount should be. But we're working on the assumption that it's going to be about half of the $350,000. Is that a fair way to understand your motion, Mark?
You're on mute, Mark.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
Tim Savarino has his hand up.
Tim, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
I would just say, Mr. Chairman, this has been a great discussion. I won't belabor it, but when you gave quite a bit more information, that makes me feel that Mark's motion is absolutely a good one, because if I heard you correctly, you said you brought a couple of $1 million in through the town's budget last year, in addition to the $8 million that was approved just recently at the town meeting. So if you add those plus the $2.5 million we're talking about, we're bringing about $12.5 million back to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So that's a pretty healthy replenishment, if you will, of their funds. I feel that's a reasonable approach for our committee to participate in.
Tim,
But-
just a clarification, that against a projected need of $40 million. So,
Of course.
so, I mean, it is an important part, but it is not, I mean, there is still a huge gap between the identified needs and the funding sources.
Right.
Any other comments then before the motion? Then the motion then is to approve the funding in amount to be advised, dollar amount advised by Brian Turbot for a bond in the amount of $2.5 million. All those in favor of that, yet voting yes supports that, voting no does not support that. Neville,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes,
Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
come back to me.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
Chair votes no, not because of the amount, but because of the belief that the 350 is the right amount. So
I vote no for the same reason.
the motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 2. Okay. So we are doing something in the area of $225,000 ballpark or so, or so. Okay, next
Tim.
item. Yes,
Is that the right amount?
Tim, I don't know what's half of 350. Oh, sorry, 175.
Right.
Yeah, my math is pretty good. Right.
If we
Next item,
fully fund everything else, we are under our cap.
The next item is in Nantucket Racket Sports Expansion, request for $980,000 for the new 2 pickleball courts and the tennis courts.
I'll
Is there
make
a
that
motion?
motion to fund in full.
Linda moves to fund in full. Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Tim. Any discussion with respect to that? Hearing none. All those in favor, Neville,
No,
Dawn,
Yes,
Jack,
Yes,
Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
aye.
Tim,
aye.
Diane.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It is 7-1 in favor. And then the last item is Sustainable Nantucket. The requested amount is $59,850,
I'll make that motion. Full funding.
second,
funded by, voted, moved by Linda and seconded by Neville. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, Neville,
yes,
Dawn,
yes,
Jack,
Yes.
He's a yes.
Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane.
Aye.
Chair votes yes.
If my addition is correct, Mr. Chairman, it is 3217886 plus 175. Is that where we ended up roughly?
I did not, I
Well,
was not having,
it's in the,
3
it's in
point,
the neighborhood of 3.4, just under 3.4. That includes the 150 and the 350.
my Excel agrees with you, Linda.
okay, so what's the number? Because I need to confirm these numbers.
All right.
With-
Well, the first one is 342, 367.
Hang on. I need to go back to my sheet.
Okay.
Okay, the first one, the billing on it, 342, 367, right? Yep, okay,
Right. And then it's 251, 100.
correct,
Then it's 148, 705,
correct,
84, 571,
correct,
317, 296,
correct.
259, 500,
Yep,
275 even,
yep.
980 even.
No, wait,
no, 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 no,
no, no,
no.
we're
175.
Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Yeah, 175. I added that
170.
after this. 175.
Okay, that's subject to
980.
change.
Yep,
Yep,
980
yep,
and 59,850
yep, okay.
plus
And then
plus the 350,
350 for the first bond,
right? Plus 150, whatever that number is.
150 for admin.
Yes, and that should come out to 3392886.
Okay, what I will do is I will go through and I will need to check the source of the funding in terms of the allocation that we have to do for the warrant article. And I will have that prepared sometime today when I can find some time in my schedule to be able to get that to you through after I get a number from Brian and after I figure out which of the reserves that we have to use in terms of getting to that number.
And we have reserves enough
I-
for the
I-
open space, which is the 980. The
Can I
big
call
tab
you
is
back?
980.
Like,
Diane, you got to go on mute. We have, that's the 980. We have a lot in open space, so we do have extra money in there.
Yep, okay, all right, I will. Now, subject to the input from Brian as to the cost of the bond and the allocation relative to the source of the funding to be agreed to tomorrow. Is that a motion that someone makes to do this as a proposed allocation for final review and vote tomorrow?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Diane. Is there further discussion with respect to this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
Neville?
are you saying that that figure and the figure we just talked about, that is all we're gonna be voting on tomorrow? I mean, the next time we meet, we're not gonna have another discussion as to amounts that could change, like for instance, I voted on this, I voted against the 980 because I'm looking here, they had some other projects that comes in a lot less. When they were asked the question, is there something else they could do? I would vote for like a 490 rather than a 980. So you're saying what you're doing right now is eliminating all those further discussions on all these projects?
Well, yours was the only vote against that.
I'm not
I
going to change
understand that.
my-
I understand that.
Right.
I
Well,
understand that. We
well,
have
the whole point now is to have a discussion as to whether or not there is a comfort level with respect to the amounts that we have voted in favor of as we went through the process today. We'll go through the second process. Does anyone want to raise a revote or reallocation with respect to any other members? I guess I'll phrase the motion that way.
That is not me.
I would when we find out what the amount is that we're going to be getting.
What do you mean what the amount is that we're going to get?
Well, you said that you're going to take these numbers, go to Brian and find out if that.
No,
can
the
be
only thing I
$5
have to,
million.
the only thing I have to go to Brian about is to find out what is the right number to be able to use for the bond. I don't need any
That's what I was
information.
going to say, Mr. Chairman. That's what I was going to say. You're going to have to go to Brian to find out if you can use that number. I am saying when we did this discussion, we were only in a second phase. You know,
No.
all the yes votes that we talked about so we can have a discussion on these projects was not my yes votes, were not my final votes. My yes votes were just to see what everybody else was doing, which is I thought was what we were doing. I thought we had another discussion coming up for the final decision on the final amounts that we would fund all of these items on.
Is there any item that anybody wants to raise to review the proposed allocation? Because we had agreement with respect to, almost unanimous agreement with respect to those. You had one vote against with respect to the racket sports thing. I'm opening the floor to anyone to make a motion to review the proposed allocation that we have just discussed and totals $3,392,886.
Mr.
I
Chair,
would bring up a thing.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair. Mark had his hand up first.
Okay, Mark,
Yeah, thank you, Ken. No, I was under the impression when you opened the meeting that this was a preliminary vote and that we would go through on the round two and discuss every one and just see if there's any objection or any amendments or any changes to be made as we go down the list of what we're recommending, not just a vote at the end to
Okay.
approve 3.3 million. I thought we were going to do them one at a time. And
Okay,
I would
then-
support
then-
what Nevin wants to do.
then I would suggest that we adjourn this meeting and we meet tomorrow morning, starting at what time, Glenn, at 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock tomorrow.
9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we will go through every individual item. And by that time, I will have the number from Brian Turbot as to the bond amount. And I will also have the proposed sources as to allocated to the proposed amounts.
Remind everybody that the reason why we do that is if we allocated over the amount that we're getting is when we start going through and trying to cut. If we don't go over the amount that we're getting and it looks like we're awfully darn close, we don't cut people.
But the fact, Linda, the fact is that at the procedure we said at the beginning, I am prepared to follow that procedure. It will just take some additional extra time for us
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I know.
And I think that it probably won't be a long time. There may not be a lot of changes, but I am prepared to have the committee follow the procedure that we talked about, which was requested by a couple of the members. So it just means that we're going to have an hour or two of additional time starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I would then entertain a motion to adjourn today.
So move.
So moved.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Linda. All those in favor by roll call. Neville,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Jack,
He said yes.
Mark,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
chair votes aye. We will see you at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you.
I will
Thank you.
send out the meeting link, the meeting ID, and the passcode, which will be different from today. So
Okay.
you can
Okay,
check the
thank
you.
mailboxes for that.
Oh,
Okay.
Thank you,
Good day,
Glenn.
Thank you.
everyone.
Yeah.
Good job, Ken.